Small towns are often quiet and charming during the day, with their streets lined with old buildings and friendly faces. But after midnight, some of these towns hide something far darker. Locals warn travelers to stay indoors, yet thrill seekers venture into these towns, drawn by the allure of the unknown. Tonight, we journey into 20 of the most haunted small towns in America after midnight, where the past never truly sleeps and every creaking floorboard could hide a spirit waiting to be seen. Small towns in America hold more than just history. They hold stories, legends, and sometimes, restless spirits. Many of these towns were sites of tragic events, mysterious disappearances, and untold horrors. After midnight, when the streets are empty and the fog rolls in, the veil between the living and the dead seems thinner. Visitors often report strange phenomena, shadowy figures glimpsed in alleyways, whispers calling their names, and lights flickering in abandoned buildings. Some towns are haunted by spirits of past residents who refuse to leave, while others hide darker presences that no one dares to speak about. Imagine walking alone on a deserted street, the fog thickening around you. The wind carries faint laughter, though no one else is there. Windows creak open on their own, and doors that should be locked swing gently in the night. Would you dare to explore these towns after midnight, knowing that you might not be alone? As we delve into these 20 haunted small towns, prepare to step into a world where every shadow, every whisper, and every empty street holds a story that chills to the bone. Before we begin, here is a question for you. If you were walking alone in a haunted town at midnight and felt something watching you, would you keep moving forward or run for your life? Gravestone, Arizona lies quietly under the relentless sun, a town frozen in time. Its weathered buildings and cracked streets whisper of a past filled with life, ambition, and sudden endings. By day, tourists wander through the old town square, reading the history etched into wooden signs and imagining the bustling town that once was. Yet as the sun dips below the horizon, a different story begins to emerge, one shaped by shadows, echoes, and the inexplicable presence of the unseen. Even in the fading light, the square seems to breathe differently. The air grows cooler, heavier, as if carrying the weight of stories untold. Visitors often speak of a faint melody drifting across empty streets, a haunting tune that rises and falls with the wind. It is soft, almost imperceptible at first, but unmistakably there. Alongside it comes the sound of footsteps, deliberate and echoing, yet no one is visible to create them. The effect is subtle, yet it sets the nerves on edge and draws attention to every creak and groan of the old wooden structures. The buildings themselves seem alive with memory. Doors occasionally swing open without cause, shutters rattle despite calm winds. And the long shadows of the square stretch unnaturally as the sun disappears. Visitors report glimpses of figures at the edges of vision, ghostly silhouettes appearing and vanishing in the blink of an eye. Some seem to wander the streets, following the remnants of paths long forgotten, while others linger near the corners of old saloons or abandoned shops, watching silently before fading into nothing. Along the cracked sidewalks, there is a distinct sensation that time itself bends. Shadows deepen unnaturally, and familiar landmarks appear slightly altered, as if the town is replaying fragments of its own history. Some claim to hear the distant laughter of children, carried across the empty square, or the murmur of voices as if the past residents are gathered invisibly to recount their days. It is a quiet, persistent presence, one that cannot be ignored once felt. The old saloons and hotels hold particular energy. Guests passing through these buildings often report sudden chills, a shift in temperature that cannot be explained. Faint music may seep from a closed piano room, or a swinging door may creak in rhythm with a ghostly procession. The furniture, long and used, sometimes appears slightly moved, as though invisible hands have rearranged it, leaving subtle traces of activity. Visitors to Gravestone often speak of the town's ability to draw them into its history. There is a compelling pull to explore every street and alley, to peer into shadowed windows. To feel the lingering presence of those who walked these paths decades ago. The air carries a faint scent of dust and earth, tinged with something indefinable, a mixture of memory and melancholy that permeates every step. As night falls fully, the ghostly phenomena become more pronounced. Figures appear near the edges of lamplight, silhouettes moving with purpose but without discernible detail. Steps echo from buildings that no longer have residents, and whispers drift through the streets in patterns that mimic human conversation. Some visitors have felt the sensation of being followed, a gentle brush along an arm or shoulder that vanishes the moment attention is turned. It is neither threatening nor malevolent, yet it is undeniably present, creating an atmosphere of awe and unease. The town square itself seems to preserve these echoes. The central fountain, long dry, reflects moonlight in fractured patterns, hinting at movements around it that cannot be accounted for. Benches and weathered statues appear subtly altered, as though touched by invisible hands. Guests walking through the square describe a feeling of intimacy with the past. As if the stories of miners, shopkeepers, and families are pressed close around them. Whispering and guiding without words. Even the outskirts of Gravestone contribute to its haunting character. Travelers report seeing figures darting between buildings, small lights flickering across vacant windows, and the sensation that something unseen observes from just beyond the line of sight. Every corner of the town seems charged with history, memory, and the subtle persistence of the past. In the quiet hours before dawn, Gravestone offers a final, lingering presence. The music fades, the footsteps grow distant. And the town returns to a state that is almost normal, yet leaves its mark on those who have witnessed its phenomena. Visitors carry with them the memory of a place that is both tangible and spectral, a town where history lives in shadows, whispers, and fleeting movements that cannot be explained. Gravestone, Arizona stands as more than a ghost town. A repository of human experience. A place where the boundary between past and present becomes fluid. Every visitor leaves with stories that cannot fully be conveyed. Impressions of fleeting figures, faint music, and footsteps that echo long after departure. The town remains, quietly waiting, preserving its secrets, and inviting those willing to walk its streets after dark, to witness the enduring presence of a history that refuses to be forgotten. Black Hollow lies tucked into the rolling hills of Pennsylvania, a place where dense trees crowd the roads and abandoned houses seem frozen in time. The town is small and quiet by day, but as twilight descends, a strange energy takes hold. Shadows stretch unnaturally across cracked pavements and empty fields, and the air carries a weight that is difficult to describe. Locals speak in hushed tones about the strange occurrences that seem to follow anyone who ventures too far into the hollow after dark. The abandoned homes are the heart of the mystery. Weathered and worn, their windows stare blankly onto overgrown yards, and doors hang slightly ajar, inviting yet forbidding. Those who approach often feel a sudden chill, a cold that creeps up from the ground and lingers. Inside, the floors creak beneath the lightest step. And some report glimpsing shadowy figures moving just beyond the edge of vision. The sense of being watched is constant, subtle yet persistent. As though the homes themselves hold memories of lives that once filled them. The roads of Black Hollow carry their own peculiar reputation. Travelers speak of engines stalling inexplicably, even in well-maintained vehicles. Phones and lights flicker, leaving visitors feeling isolated and uncertain. Whispers float across the deserted roads, soft at first, indistinguishable from the wind, then sharper, almost as if the voices are deliberately calling out. These occurrences are fleeting and inconsistent, yet they leave a lasting impression, creating a deep sense that the hollow is alive with unseen presence. Even the forested areas around the hollow contribute to its eerie character. The air is often thick with fog, rolling over the hills and obscuring paths, making orientation difficult. Shapes appear at the periphery of vision, sometimes standing motionless before vanishing when approached. The combination of isolation, darkness, and subtle movement heightens tension, making every step feel uncertain and every sound amplified. Locals tell stories passed down through generations. They speak of people who vanished without explanation, of families leaving their homes in sudden fear, and of mysterious lights that hover over fields and old foundations. Some claim the hollow is a gathering place for lost spirits, bound to the landscape and the abandoned dwellings that once sheltered them. Others describe encounters with figures that appear human at first, then dissolve into shadows, leaving only the memory of their presence. These tales give the hollow a reputation that keeps many travelers at a cautious distance after nightfall. Exploring the hollow is an experience shaped by both the environment and perception. The creaking of an old gate or the snapping of a twig can trigger heightened awareness. Reflections in car windows or the glint of moonlight on broken glass can create fleeting illusions of movement. The glint of moonlight on broken glass can create fleeting illusions of movement. The natural features of the hollow amplify these sensations, creating a psychological landscape where imagination and reality intertwine. Visitors often report feelings of unease that grow steadily as darkness deepens, an instinctual recognition of being somewhere far from ordinary. An instinctual recognition of being somewhere far from ordinary. The abandoned homes hold subtle reminders of life once lived. Personal items scatter floors. Faded photographs lean against walls. And furniture sits in disuse, collecting dust. And echoes. The presence within these spaces is neither aggressive nor welcoming. It is persistent, a quiet acknowledgement that these dwellings retain a memory of the people who inhabited them. Visitors have described sudden feelings of sadness or nostalgia, as though the hollow itself is reflecting the emotions of those who enter. Every creak and whisper reinforces the sense that Black Hollow is more than just a deserted town. It is a living archive of stories, both seen and unseen. Even during the day, the hollow carries an atmosphere of tension. The streets are empty, and the wind rustles through the leaves in a way that makes the town seem on the brink of awakening from a long slumber. Shadows cling to corners, and sunlight filtering through overgrown branches casts irregular patterns across the road. The interplay of light and shadow enhances the feeling that the hollow is observing, waiting for the moment when evening descends and the supernatural whispers become more perceptible. Night amplifies the unknown. Shapes emerge in the mist, only to vanish as the viewer blinks or turns. Cold pockets of air shift unpredictably, and the sound of distant movement is amplified, creating the impression of figures just beyond the edge of perception. The experience is immersive, tense, and unforgettable, a reminder of the thin line between what is seen and what is felt. Black Hollow, Pennsylvania, endures as a place of mystery and quiet power. Its abandoned homes, forested roads, and pervasive shadows invite exploration while commanding caution. Visitors leave with stories, lingering questions, and an acute awareness that some spaces are marked by forces beyond the ordinary. The hollow is not merely a location on a map but a testament to the presence of the unknown, a place where the echoes of the past intertwine with the perceptions of the present, leaving a lasting impression on all who enter. Ravenwood lies quietly along the northern Oregon landscape, a town that seems suspended in time. Its streets are narrow, lined with century-old buildings whose brick and timber facades have witnessed generations of life and loss. By day, the town appears peaceful, a quaint community tucked beneath the watchful eyes of towering evergreens. But after midnight, Ravenwood transforms, shrouded in fog that drifts through alleys and over cobblestone streets like a living entity. As the fog thickens, shadows begin to take shape. Residents speak of figures that emerge from the mist, moving silently along deserted streets. Some appear to glance into windows, lingering for moments before vanishing into the night. These ghostly silhouettes are not always fully formed, often appearing as hints of movement, a fleeting presence at the edge of perception. Yet their impact is undeniable, leaving witnesses with an unsettling awareness that the town is never truly empty. Windows flicker with light despite the buildings being long abandoned. A faint glow sometimes spills onto the sidewalks, illuminating peeling paint and weathered doors. Passers-by describe seeing shapes behind the glass. Figures that seem aware of their presence yet vanish when approached. The phenomenon has become so common that locals have grown accustomed to the strange dance of light and shadow, though the sense of unease remains. Alleyways in Ravenwood are particularly active after dark. Narrow and twisting, they trap the fog, creating an ethereal environment, where whispers seem to echo from nowhere. The sounds are almost human, yet impossible to trace, adding to the growing mystique of the town. Steps echo along brick pathways even when no one is present, and small movements in the fog can appear as figures just beyond the corner of the eye. Ravenwood's history contributes to its spectral atmosphere. Settled over a century ago, the town has seen its share of hardship, from fires to unexplained disappearances. Many of the stories passed down through generations speak of residents who never left, lingering as echoes in the places they once called home. The fog seems to serve as a veil, blending the past with the present and revealing glimpses of lives that have long since ended. Old shops and homes are often the settings for these encounters. Front doors sway slightly despite the absence of wind, and the faint sound of footsteps can be heard upstairs. In empty buildings, some windows emit flickering candlelight, though no candles have been lit for decades. The impression of being observed is persistent, a silent tension that follows those who dare to wander Ravenwood's streets after dark. The town's cemetery adds another layer of mystery. Headstones tilt and moss covers names nearly forgotten. Even here, the fog seems thicker, and shadows move among the graves with purpose. The air carries a chill, and the quiet is punctuated by the occasional creak of iron gates swaying in the breeze. Some of the most persistent sightings occur near the old town hall and the abandoned schoolhouse. Windows glow with unseen light, and residents describe seeing figures standing at the edges of the property, watching silently before melting back into the fog. Stories tell of children's laughter echoing from empty classrooms, or of fleeting figures walking the halls late at night. These events are subtle yet persistent, leaving a lingering sense that the town itself remembers what has come before. Visitors to Ravenwood often describe a mixture of fear and fascination. The experiences are not violent or aggressive, but they are intimate and undeniable. A presence in the room, a shadow that moves independently of light, or the whisper of a name carried through the fog can leave a lasting impression. Those who witness these phenomena speak of a place where the veil between past and present is thin, and where the town's history is visible to those willing to see it. The fog itself seems almost alive, curling around corners and threading through alleyways, shaping the way visitors perceive the town. Light refracts in strange ways, casting shapes that suggest movement even in empty streets. The natural beauty of Ravenwood is intertwined with its mysterious aura. Every shadow, flicker, and whisper adds depth to the narrative that continues to unfold each night. By dawn, the fog begins to lift, and Ravenwood returns to the familiar, sunlit town known to residents and travelers alike. Streets become clear, and the unsettling movements of the night vanish. Yet the memory remains, etched in the minds of those who have seen what lies beneath the veil. The town holds its secrets closely, offering glimpses to those who wander after midnight, reminding all who visit that some places are never truly empty. Ravenwood is more than a small Oregon town. It is a place where history, mystery, and the supernatural converge. Each alleyway, window, and street corner tells a story, and visitors become part of the ongoing narrative. In the fog and shadows, the past is alive, waiting to be witnessed by those who dare to walk Ravenwood after dark. Ash Creek, Michigan lies quietly along a winding rural road, surrounded by dense woods and the remnants of an old mining community. By day, it seems peaceful, a place where nature reclaims what was once disturbed by industry. Yet beneath this serene exterior, the land holds stories of tragedy and loss, memories of a mining accident that forever altered its character. Travelers passing through report an immediate change in atmosphere as they approach. The air becomes heavier, carrying a chill that seems to seep into the bones. Even on warm days, a sudden cold can sweep across the landscape, a reminder that Ash Creek is more than just a stretch of road. The rusted remains of mining equipment stand as silent sentinels, casting long shadows that seem to move when viewed from the corner of the eye. The mining accident that occurred decades ago left an indelible mark on the area. Families and communities were affected, and those who perished in the disaster are said to linger. Their spirits restless and bound to the place where their lives ended too soon. Visitors recount hearing faint cries, echoes of fear and confusion, drifting through the trees as if carried on the wind. The sound is distant yet haunting, impossible to locate, leaving a lingering sense of unease. Buildings that remain from the mining era contribute to the unsettling presence. Doors creak and sometimes slam without any visible cause. And shadows gather in abandoned structures where sunlight barely reaches. Windows reflect fleeting images that vanish when approached. And footsteps echo along empty hallways, distinct yet unaccompanied by any living figure. These experiences create a feeling that the past is pressing against the present. That the memories of the miners are etched into the very walls and earth. Some travelers describe encounters with ghostly figures appearing unexpectedly. Shapes of men and women dressed in period clothing are glimpsed near old machinery. They vanish when observed directly, leaving only the memory of their presence. The emotions they carry of fear, sorrow, urgentia can be overwhelming for those who witness them. The terrain itself adds to the atmosphere. Mist can roll in from the water at unexpected times, obscuring vision and enhancing the feeling that the environment is alive with unseen presences. Even the creek's gentle flow can take on an eerie quality in the dim light, carrying reflections and shadows that seem to move independently of the current. Those who stay overnight report that the haunting presence is strongest after dark. Cold drafts move through cabins or abandoned structures, shifting without any discernible source. Lights flicker or fail entirely, and sounds of distant shouts or crashing equipment echo as though frozen in time. Some have felt a brush against their arm or a sudden change in air pressure, subtle yet unmistakable, reminders that the spirits of Ash Creek remain active and aware. Despite these eerie experiences, Ash Creek continues to attract visitors, some drawn by curiosity, others by a desire to witness the unexplained firsthand. Cameras and recording devices sometimes capture anomalies, but for many, the true encounter is sensory and psychological, the sensation of being observed, the shifting air, the emotional weight of a place marked by loss. Every visitor leaves with a story, a lingering memory of something felt rather than seen, a connection to the past that is both poignant and unsettling. The history of Ash Creek intertwines with the present, creating a space where tragedy and memory coexist. The miners who lost their lives, the families affected, and the remnants of the industry that once thrived here all contribute to the energy that lingers. Even as the town and equipment crumble under time, the spirits persist, echoing the stories of human endeavor, misfortune, and endurance. The creek itself serves as both a literal and symbolic lifeline, a witness to the passage of time and the events that unfolded along its banks. At night, the water reflects the faint light of the moon, shadows moving across its surface as if carrying the memories of those who once labored here. Each ripple and sound becomes part of the haunting narrative, connecting the present observer with the spirits who remain tied to this land. Ash Creek is more than a site of tragedy, it is a repository of memory and emotion. The sensations felt by visitors, the chills, the whispered cries, the sudden movements of air and light are reminders that history leaves an imprint beyond the written record. The spirits of those lost in the mining accident continue to exist in a liminal space, where their stories, pain, and presence are woven into the landscape itself. For those willing to explore its paths and observe its silent structures, Ash Creek offers a unique encounter with the past. The haunting is subtle yet pervasive, a continuous reminder of lives once lived and lost. It is a place where the boundary between the living and the departed feels thin, where memory and mystery intermingle, and where every step along the creek and its abandoned mining sites carries the weight of history and the whispers of those who remain. Ash Creek, Michigan, endures as a destination for those drawn to the unknown. Its landscapes, structures, and atmosphere tell stories that cannot be erased, stories that persist in shadow, wind, and water. Visitors leave with impressions that linger, an awareness of the spirits that inhabit the land, and a connection to a past that refuses to be forgotten. Duskfield, New Hampshire rests quietly along the winding river, a town of soft murmurs and hidden shadows. By day, the waters shimmer under sunlight, reflecting the lush trees and the old bridge that has spanned the river for more than a century. Locals speak of the bridge with a quiet reverence and a hint of fear, warning travelers that it carries more than the weight of vehicles and pedestrians. As dusk settles over the town, the riverside takes on a different character. Mist rises from the water, curling among the trees and drifting along the banks. The light fades, and with it, the familiar shapes of the town begin to blur. Visitors walking near the bridge often notice figures standing at the water's edge, pale and distant, appearing for only a moment before vanishing as if swallowed by the night. The bridge itself is a focal point for many accounts of the unexplained. Travelers report feeling a sudden chill when stepping onto its wooden planks, and some describe an unshakable sensation of being watched. Footsteps echo where none should exist, and faint whispers rise with the wind, carried from no discernible source. These experiences are fleeting, yet they leave a lasting impression. A sense that something unseen lingers just beyond perception. Along the riverside, the shadows deepen between trees and rocks, taking on forms that resemble human shapes. Observers often see these silhouettes move with deliberate purpose, only to vanish when approached. The effect is both captivating and unsettling, a reminder of how closely the past can brush against the present. Some believe these figures are the remnants of those lost to the river, tied to the currents and memories that flow through Duskfield with every passing season. The town itself holds echoes of history. Weathered buildings and quiet streets carry the weight of decades, and every creak of timber and rustle of leaves seems amplified in the stillness of dusk. Visitors speak of sudden, inexplicable chills as they walk past old homes, and some report the sensation of being guided along certain paths, as if invisible hands are directing their journey. The environment blends the natural with the spectral, creating a tension that is subtle but persistent. Near the bridge, the water reflects ghostly images of the past. Many have reported seeing figures standing on the planks, faces indistinct, sometimes reaching out as if trying to communicate. Yet when anyone attempts to draw closer, the shapes vanish, leaving only the sound of flowing water and the echo of their own footsteps. The phenomenon has been observed from both banks, adding to the bridge's reputation as a place where reality and apparition meet. The stories of Duskfield are not confined to the riverside. Along the narrow streets, some have glimpsed shadows flitting across windows, or seen the fleeting outline of someone walking where no one should be. There are whispers of soft voices calling names, laughter echoing faintly through deserted lanes, and the subtle impression that time behaves differently here. The town becomes a living tableau of memories, some joyful, some sorrowful, yet all persistent in their ethereal form. Visitors often describe the atmosphere as immersive, a sensation that surrounds them from the moment they step into the town. The combination of natural beauty and lingering mystery creates a sense of suspended time, where the present is colored by fragments of the past. Every rustle in the trees, every glimmer of light across the water, and every unexpected draft of wind seems imbued with significance, drawing attention to details that might otherwise go unnoticed. Even late at night, the phenomena continue. The river reflects the moonlight in shifting patterns, and silhouettes appear at the edges of vision. Sometimes moving along the banks, sometimes standing silently. The experience is subtle yet pervasive, leaving a lasting impression on those who venture close enough to witness it. Duskfield endures as a place where the boundary between the living and the unseen feels thin. The riverside and the old bridge serve as focal points for stories that blend history, mystery, and lingering presence. Visitors leave carrying a memory of subtle chills, fleeting shapes, and the sense that the town itself holds secrets that are always just beyond reach. It is a place where every shadow and every sound seems to invite reflection, a town alive with echoes of the past and whispers that linger long after the sun has set. The experience of Duskfield is not one that can be easily explained. It is felt in the quiet tension of a riverbank at dusk, in the sudden chill that runs along the spine, and in the fleeting figures that appear and vanish with the mist. Each visitor becomes part of the town's ongoing story, a witness to the subtle interplay of memory and presence. Duskfield, New Hampshire remains, quietly and persistently, a place where the whispers of the past continue to shape the present. Silent Pines rests quietly in the rolling hills of Tennessee, a place where the natural world has reclaimed much of its abandoned landscape. At the heart of this quiet town stands the old schoolhouse, a building long unused yet impossibly present. Its brick walls are weathered, and the paint on the doors and window frames peels under the relentless sun. The grounds are overgrown, with tall grass swaying across cracked sidewalks and rusted swings that creak in the wind. By day, it is an eerie relic of the past. But by night, the schoolhouse seems to take on a life of its own, whispering stories of those who once walked its halls. As the sun sets and shadows lengthen, the silence of the town is broken by subtle, almost imperceptible sounds. Some claim they hear the patter of small feet on wooden floors, the laughter of children carried on the breeze, and the faint echo of voices discussing lessons long forgotten. These sounds are fleeting and inconsistent, leaving those who witness them questioning what they have truly heard. The sense of presence is undeniable, a lingering energy that fills every classroom, hallway, and empty auditorium. The building itself tells a story through its decay. Broken windows allow the wind to whistle through corridors, creating patterns that mimic hurried footsteps or hushed conversations. Lockers hang crooked, their doors swinging gently with no visible cause, and chalkboards bear faint traces of lessons from decades past. Each classroom offers a new encounter, a new possibility for those willing to explore. The atmosphere is thick with anticipation, a palpable tension that both invites curiosity and warns of the unknown. Visitors to Silent Pines often describe an overwhelming sensation of being watched, as if unseen eyes track their every movement. Hallways seem longer than they should be, doors appear where none were before, and the faint smell of chalk and old paper lingers in the air. Some have felt a sudden chill, a cold that seems to seep from the walls themselves, pressing against the skin and reminding the visitor that they are not alone. It is a presence that is quiet, patient, and observant, revealing itself in subtle ways rather than direct confrontation. The surrounding grounds add to the unsettling atmosphere, now overshadowed by the weight of abandonment, casting shifting shadows that dance across broken paths and cracked sidewalks. At night, these shadows blend with the darkness, creating shapes that seem to move with intention. Locals share stories passed down through generations. They speak of teachers and students who remain tied to the school, their spirits lingering long after life moved on. Many recount encounters with children who appear momentarily at the end of corridors, only to vanish when approached. Others describe the sound of laughter or running echoing in empty classrooms, a haunting melody of memory preserved in the very walls. These accounts create a reputation for Silent Pines that is both chilling and compelling, drawing curious visitors while keeping them at a cautious distance. Exploration of the schoolhouse is an experience that engages all senses. Every creak of the floorboards, every shift of air, and every whisper of the wind carries meaning. There is a rhythm to the haunting, a cadence that reflects the daily life once lived within the building. When the environment seems to respond to their presence, when shadows lengthen and the air grows heavy without any visible cause. When shadows lengthen and the air grows heavy without any visible cause. There is a rhythm to the haunting, a cadence that reflects the daily life once lived within the building. Every detail, from the faint scuff marks on floors to the rusted hinges on classroom doors, contributes to the narrative of a place caught between the past and the present. A close-up shot of the lead investigator's face, eyes scanning the doors with a mix of curiosity and trepidation. The camera pans out to reveal a long, abandoned hallway, with doors leading to various classrooms, each with its own unique story to tell. A door creaks open, revealing a room filled with old, dusty books and a single, flickering candle casting an ominous glow. The lead investigator reaches out to touch a book, and as they do, the camera zooms in on their hand, with the book's cover slowly revealing a dark, otherworldly symbol. Even as daylight fades, the schoolhouse asserts itself against the encroaching night. The last rays of sun highlight the worn steps leading to the main entrance. And the long shadows of nearby trees stretch across the grounds. Sounds of the surrounding forest mingle with the noises within the building, creating an otherworldly symphony. The wind carries faint whispers that seem almost human. And those who linger can feel the presence of the unseen students and teachers who continue their eternal routines in the empty halls. Silent Pines is more than an abandoned schoolhouse. It is a vessel of memory and emotion, a location where time seems to warp. And the ordinary is replaced by subtle manifestations of the extraordinary. Each encounter is unique, shaped by the observer's presence and perception, and leaving a lasting impression that cannot be easily dismissed. For those who visit, the experience of Silent Pines is immersive and unforgettable. The laughter that seems to echo from nowhere. The footsteps that cross empty halls. And the subtle shifts of shadow create a narrative that is at once haunting and fascinating. The schoolhouse stands as a testament to the past. A place where the line between memory and lingering spirit blurs, offering a chilling yet captivating glimpse into a world that is simultaneously abandoned and alive. In Silent Pines, Tennessee, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. An abandoned schoolhouse holds stories in its walls, footsteps in its halls, and whispers in the wind. Visitors leave with a heightened awareness of the unseen, carrying with them the weight of a place where the echoes of childhood and education persist beyond time. Reminding all who enter that some presences are too enduring to fade. Coldwater, Ohio, is a town that seems ordinary at first glance. Its streets are lined with brick buildings and small shops that have stood for generations. By day, the town square is filled with the hum of everyday life, the ringing of bicycle bells, and the chatter of neighbors. But as night falls, Coldwater transforms into a place of quiet unease, where shadows lengthen and the air takes on a chill that seems to come from nowhere. The town's deserted streets are the first to signal a change. Intersections that were bustling during the day become empty and still. Streetlights cast long pools of light onto the pavement. But within those pools, shapes sometimes flicker, appearing and vanishing like smoke caught in the wind. Locals have spoken of ghostly shadows that cross the roads. Figures that seem to move with purpose yet vanish when approached. These fleeting apparitions leave an unsettling impression on those who witness them. A silent warning that Coldwater is not as empty as it seems. The inns and boarding houses scattered throughout the town are particularly known for their spectral activity. Guests report sudden cold drafts that appear in hallways without explanation, brushing against skin and chilling bones. Doors creak open or close on their own, and footsteps echo along floors where no one is present. Some rooms carry the weight of long-forgotten histories, and those who spend the night often feel as though they are not alone, as though unseen eyes watch every movement with quiet intensity. The town square is another focal point of the mysterious energy that permeates Coldwater. By day, it is a center of community and gathering, but by night, it becomes a place of strange occurrences. Visitors describe the sensation of being followed by an unseen presence. And cold drafts sweep across the open space even when the wind is calm. The lampposts flicker intermittently, casting shadows that seem to twist and stretch unnaturally across the cobblestones. It is as if the town itself remembers its past, whispering through the chill and darkness to those willing to listen. Many of the ghostly reports are tied to Coldwater's long history. Buildings that now house businesses and homes were once the sites of events that left a mark on the community. Stories passed down through generations speak of tragic accidents, sudden disappearances, and lives cut short. The memories of those who came before linger, sometimes manifesting in subtle ways: a fleeting shadow, a distant murmur, or a sensation that someone is nearby. The town carries these echoes like a hidden undercurrent beneath its seemingly peaceful exterior. Walking through Coldwater at night can be an unsettling experience. Even the familiar seems altered. Shop windows reflect shapes that move independently of any person, and alleyways twist into darkness that seems almost alive. Small details: a swing moving slightly in an empty park, a distant door slamming, compound the feeling that the town is watching, waiting, and remembering. The fog that occasionally drifts through amplifies the eerie atmosphere, curling around corners and hiding the familiar until it becomes something unrecognizable. The inns in Coldwater are more than just places to stay. Rooms that have seen decades of travelers carry stories that seem to manifest in the present. Guests often report hearing conversations, or laughter that cannot be traced, or catching glimpses of figures in the periphery of their vision. The air in these spaces is heavy with history, and the sensations are not violent or threatening, but quiet, insistent, and persistent. It is the subtlety of the activity that makes it so memorable, a constant reminder of the lives that have touched these walls before. Even the outskirts of town hold their own mysteries. Narrow roads that wind through farmland and overgrown woods are often shrouded in mist at night. Those who drive these roads report seeing figures standing at the edges of the fields or walking along the roadside. Lights appear without source, hovering in the distance before vanishing. The atmosphere of Coldwater extends beyond the town square and the main streets, as though the land itself has absorbed the echoes of the past. Residents and visitors alike describe a feeling of time bending within Coldwater. Moments stretch and compress, sounds seem to come from impossible directions, and familiar sights take on an almost dreamlike quality, where the boundary between the present and what has come before feels thin. Those who wander the streets after dark become participants in the town's quiet narrative, witnesses to an ongoing story that unfolds with every shadow, every cold draft, and every flicker of light. As dawn approaches, the spectral presence fades. Streets regain their ordinary appearance, and the chill in the air dissipates with the morning sun. Yet the memory of the night lingers with those who experienced it. Coldwater remains, at its core, a town of history, mystery, and unseen observers. Every corner, intersection, and inn carries traces of lives long gone. And those who visit find themselves touched by the subtle, persistent presence of the past. Coldwater is more than a town in Ohio. It is a place where the ordinary meets the extraordinary, where history and mystery intertwine, and where the quiet echoes of lives once lived continue to watch, wait, and sometimes, reach out to those who dare to wander its streets after dark. Whispering Oaks, Georgia, sits quietly on the outskirts of a small town, surrounded by dense trees and overgrown paths. By day, it seems like any other cemetery, serene and still, with rows of headstones glinting faintly in the sunlight. Yet as night falls, the atmosphere transforms. Shadows stretch unnaturally, and the wind carries faint murmurs that seem to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. Visitors approaching after midnight often notice the immediate shift in the air. The temperature drops unexpectedly, and the soft rustling of leaves feels deliberate, almost like the ground itself is stirring. Graves that appear settled by day seem to move subtly under the cover of darkness. Lids tilting or shifting as if disturbed by unseen hands. The sensation is fleeting, yet enough to make even the most skeptical pause and look over their shoulder. The cemetery has a history that stretches back generations. Families buried here often lived through turbulent times. And the land holds countless stories of sorrow, loss, and remembrance. Some graves mark tragic deaths, others the passing of individuals whose lives ended far too soon. Locals have long whispered about the energy that lingers here, claiming that certain hours of the night bring the cemetery to life in ways that are both unsettling and inexplicable. Shadows appear frequently among the headstones, moving with a purpose that defies natural movement. They are rarely fully formed, more like silhouettes that flicker and vanish as quickly as they appear. Observers report seeing figures pause, as though surveying the land, and then disappear behind trees or beneath the thick undergrowth. There is a sense that the cemetery watches back, that it is not merely a place of the dead, but a space where the line between the living and the departed grows thin. The wind carries voices that are almost audible, murmurs that seem to follow those who walk along the paths. Some hear names called softly, while others sense the echo of laughter or weeping long past. These sounds are subtle, often requiring stillness and attention to notice, yet they leave an imprint on the mind. Graves themselves sometimes appear slightly open, their lids askew as if disturbed from beneath. The effect is momentary, often seen from a distance, yet enough to stir unease. Observers describe the sensation of standing among the markers and feeling an unseen presence nearby, a weight or pressure that shifts as they move. Even when nothing is visible, the awareness of being watched is palpable. The trees surrounding whispering oaks enhance the eerie atmosphere. Their branches twist and sway, creating shapes in the darkness that suggest figures or forms watching from above. Moonlight filtering through the leaves casts moving shadows that play tricks on the eyes, making it difficult to discern reality from illusion. Sounds are amplified here, the snap of a twig or the rustle of leaves carries through the cemetery with unusual clarity, heightening the sense that the night is alive. Some visitors report more direct interactions with the supernatural. A chill brushes past as if someone walked by, or a faint pressure against the back or shoulder interrupts the silence. Occasionally, items left at gravesites, whether flowers or tokens of remembrance, are found slightly moved or displaced, though no human presence is observed. These experiences contribute to the reputation of Whispering Oaks as a place where the veil between the living and the dead is exceptionally thin. Despite its unsettling nature, the cemetery draws those seeking to connect with the past or experience the unknown. Paranormal enthusiasts come equipped with cameras, recording devices, and sensors, hoping to capture the inexplicable. Many leave with recordings that show anomalies in light or sound, though often the most powerful moments are the unrecorded ones, felt in the sudden shiver, the inexplicable pause, or the fleeting shadow at the edge of vision. The history of Whispering Oaks is deeply intertwined with the land itself. Each grave holds a story, each headstone a testament to lives lived and lost. The cumulative energy of these histories creates a presence that persists beyond memory, lingering in the wind, the trees, and the earth. Visitors often speak of a strange mixture of reverence and unease, as though they have stepped into a space where the past continues to breathe. Nightfall brings the cemetery fully alive. Sounds, shadows, and sensations intensify, creating a sensory experience that is both compelling and disquieting. It is a place where memory, emotion, and spirit intersect, where the stories of those long gone are felt as much as they are imagined. Walking among the graves after midnight is to become part of that continuum, a witness to a living history that is invisible yet undeniable. Whispering Oaks, Georgia, remains a destination for those drawn to the unexplained. Its paths and monuments are more than markers of death, they are conduits of presence, echoes of lives that once were. The cemetery teaches that history is not merely remembered, it is felt, and that some places carry with them an enduring consciousness, subtle but persistent, whispering across time to anyone willing to listen. Visitors leave with impressions that linger, a heightened awareness of the unseen and the inexplicable. The experience at Whispering Oaks is not one of fear alone, but of connection to memory, to history, and to the delicate boundary between life and the beyond. Those who come seeking understanding or a glimpse of the unknown carry away a piece of the cemeteria's essence. A reminder that some places are never truly empty. And that the night holds secrets meant only for those who dare to witness them. Hollow Ridge, New York sits quietly among rolling hills and dense forests, a town that carries the weight of a tragic past. Long ago, a devastating fire swept through the settlement, consuming homes, businesses, and lives. The flames left more than ruins behind. Locals say the spirits of those who perished linger among the charred foundations and abandoned buildings, their presence quietly asserting itself on those who venture too close. Visitors to Hollow Ridge often speak of the eeriness that begins as soon as they approach the town. The streets are lined with old, weathered structures, their facades worn by time and the elements. Windows are dark and empty, and the scent of aged wood and stone lingers in the air. As the sun dips below the horizon, shadows stretch long across the streets, and the town seems to hold its breath, waiting. Within the old buildings, the atmosphere is thick with history and memory. Floors creak underfoot, though no one else seems to be present. In the silence, some hear faint murmurs or the sudden echo of footsteps that vanish when investigated. Doors, once sturdy, may swing slightly on their hinges despite the absence of wind. And cold drafts move through rooms as though guided by unseen hands. The ridge itself amplifies the sense of the supernatural. From the top, the town below looks serene. Yet a careful observer will notice subtle movements in the shadows. Apparitions have been reported in the windows. Pale figures that vanish when approached. The cries of the lost echo in the night. Carried by the wind through alleyways and across open spaces. Many who experience these sounds describe a chilling sense of sorrow. A lingering grief that seems to permeate the very air of Hollow Ridge. The fire that shaped the town's haunted reputation is central to the stories told. It was swift, leaving little time for escape, and its devastation carved a deep mark in the collective memory. Witnesses claim to see figures moving among the ruins, dressed in the attire of another era, carrying tools or performing tasks that once filled their daily lives. These spectral images appear briefly and disappear, leaving observers questioning the line between past and present. At night, the town transforms into a realm of shadows and whispers. The wind through broken windows and empty doorways carries sounds that seem almost human. Visitors often feel a presence nearby, a weight or pressure that is felt more than seen. The longer one remains in Hollow Ridge after dark, the more the sensation of being watched intensifies. Some speak of fleeting glances into darkened rooms, only to find them empty moments later, yet the feeling of an unseen observer remains. Hollow Ridge also reveals itself in subtler ways. Doors that were closed when left open themselves. Faint footsteps echo along hallways, and cold spots appear unpredictably. These manifestations are rarely aggressive but carry a weight of sorrow and unfinished business. The town's old church and schoolhouse are especially active, with reports of shadowy figures moving through pews or classrooms. and sounds of activity where none should be. These manifestations are rarely aggressive but carry a weight of sorrow and unfinished business. Visitors recount encounters that are difficult to describe, moments that linger in memory long after they leave the town. Some hear distant screams, others report seeing figures standing silently in doorways or on balconies, looking out across the ridge. The effect is immersive, drawing attention to the interplay between light and shadow, silence and sound. Each experience deepens the sense that Hollow Ridge is a place where the past has not entirely released its hold. Despite its haunting reputation, Hollow Ridge is a place of fascination. Its beauty is undeniable, with rolling hills, forested areas, and panoramic views that seem timeless. Yet beneath the picturesque landscape lies a palpable sense of history, grief, and memory. Those who walk its streets and explore its buildings do so with a mixture of curiosity and caution, aware that they are treading among echoes of lives once lived and abruptly ended. Hollow Ridge continues to captivate and unsettle. The spirits of the Firea's victims appear to move with purpose. Sometimes watching, sometimes passing through the present unnoticed. The town remains a testament to resilience, memory, and the unseen forces that linger where tragedy has struck. Visitors leave with a sense of having glimpsed something beyond the ordinary. A reminder that history is not only written in documents and stone but also in the shadows and whispers that haunt the ridge long after the flames have faded. In Hollow Ridge, every footstep along the cracked sidewalks and every breath in the cool night air carries the potential for encounters with the past. The town invites exploration, reflection, and respect for the lives once intertwined with its streets. Each visitor becomes part of the continuing story, bearing witness to the spirits that linger and the echoes that remain. A place where history and haunting exist side by side in quiet, compelling harmony. Deadman's Hollow lies deep in the forested hills of West Virginia, a place where mist clings to the ground and the trees seem to whisper secrets of a past long forgotten. Locals speak in hushed tones of the spirits that roam the edges of the town, wandering among the trees and vanishing into the dense fog that settles each evening. The Hollow is steeped in history, its winding paths and overgrown clearings holding the weight of countless stories, many of them dark and tragic. As twilight falls, the forest takes on an otherworldly quality. Shadows stretch across the uneven ground, merging with the creeping fog that snakes along the forest floor. Visitors often report a sudden chill that seems to follow them along the winding paths, a cold that cuts through the warm air. The silence is almost absolute, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant call of an owl. Yet beneath this natural quiet, there is an undercurrent of something unseen. A presence that seems to watch, to follow, and to move just beyond perception. Those who venture into Deadman's Hollow speak of figures appearing and disappearing without warning. Shadows take shape as human forms, fleeting glimpses that vanish when approached. Some have felt the sensation of footsteps behind them, matching their pace, only to find the forest empty when they turn. Others have reported hearing voices carried on the wind, whispers that drift through the trees yet leave no trace of their origin. These experiences are personal and intangible, leaving an impression that lingers long after one has left the hollow. The landscape itself enhances the eerie atmosphere. Twisted trees rise from moss-covered ground, their gnarled branches reaching outward like silent sentinels. Fallen leaves and broken branches crunch underfoot, sometimes mimicking footsteps that are not your own. The fog weaves through the forest, cloaking the hollow in shifting layers of gray and white, creating a sense of disorientation and uncertainty. Even familiar paths appear strange and unfamiliar, as if the forest itself is reshaping itself in the presence of its visitors. Locals share stories of tragedies that have left their mark on the hollow. Tales of lost travelers, accidents, and unexplained disappearances have been passed down for generations. Many believe these events have left imprints on the land, spirits that remain tethered to the places where their lives ended. These accounts lend a sense of history and weight to every shadow, every sound, and every chill that visitors experience. The hollow becomes a living memory, a place where the past is never truly gone. Exploration of the hollow requires attentiveness and caution. Every step, every rustle, and every flicker of movement can feel significant. Some visitors describe the feeling of being followed, a pressure at the edges of perception that grows stronger as the night deepens. There are moments when the forest seems to breathe, the fog swirling and moving in ways that suggest intent. These encounters are subtle but unmistakable, drawing the observer into a heightened awareness of the space and the unseen presences that inhabit it. The sounds of Deadman's Hollow are as important as its sights. The forest is alive with the natural chorus of night. Yet interwoven with this are noises that defy explanation. Footsteps in empty clearings. Faint rustling behind thick underbrush. And whispers that drift on the wind create an auditory tapestry that is both beautiful and unsettling. Visitors often pause, straining to identify the source, only to find that the sounds vanish when confronted directly. The forest communicates in a language of absence and suggestion, leaving the imagination to fill in the gaps. Fog and darkness transform the hollow into a landscape that is simultaneously intimate and vast. Familiar landmarks, such as old stone foundations and abandoned cabins, appear ghostly in the low light. The fog softens the edges of the world, creating illusions of movement where there is none, and revealing glimpses of shapes that seem alive with purpose. The environment itself seems aware, reacting to the presence of outsiders and amplifying the sense that the forest is inhabited by more than just trees and animals. Visitors often describe a lingering sense of connection to the past. The hollow feels as if it remembers those who have come before, holding on to echoes of footsteps, voices, and laughter. These remnants create an atmosphere where history and spirit intertwine, offering a haunting yet compelling experience. Time seems to stretch and bend, and moments of silence carry the weight of countless unseen observers. The hollow is patient, allowing its stories to reveal themselves slowly to those willing to notice. Deadman's Hollow is a place of mystery and quiet terror. A forested landscape where the natural and supernatural converge. The fog, the shadows, and the whispers all contribute to an experience that is immersive and unforgettable. Each visitor encounters the hollow in their own way. Shaped by perception and presence, the hollow does not force its secrets but offers them. Through fleeting glimpses, sounds and sensations that linger long after the forest has been left behind. In Deadman's Hollow, West Virginia, the past is ever present. Figures appear in the mist, footsteps echo where no one walks. And the forest holds stories that cannot be easily forgotten. The experience is as much about the unseen as it is about the tangible. A place where the forest itself seems alive with memory and intent. Every visit leaves an impression, a quiet reminder that some places are never truly empty. Blackwater, Missouri, sits quietly along the riverbank, a town shaped by the slow currents of the water and the passage of time. By day, the river reflects the sunlight, shimmering across the surface as boats glide lazily, and the sounds of nature fill the air. But as evening falls, the landscape changes, and the river takes on a mysterious, almost otherworldly quality. Fog creeps across the water, curling through the trees and settling over the banks. In this ethereal light, Blackwater becomes a place where the line between the living and the spectral blurs. Locals have long spoken of strange occurrences along the river. Phantom lights appear above the water, moving in patterns that defy logic, sometimes hovering, sometimes darting as if chasing something unseen. The lights are faint yet persistent, casting reflections on the fog that seem to move independently. On certain nights, the river itself seems alive with energy, carrying whispers that drift across the water and reach the ears of those who dare to linger along the banks. Names are spoken softly, calling to the living from an unknown source, leaving an unsettling sense of being watched. The most frequent reports involve phantom boats gliding through the mist. These vessels appear without origin, cutting through the fog silently, their shape sometimes clear, sometimes only glimpsed as dark silhouettes. Witnesses describe the uncanny precision of their movement, as if guided by unseen hands. No one rows, no engine hums, and yet the boats move as if driven by purpose. Some say the spirits of fishermen lost to the river return to roam the waters, replaying their final journeys in an endless loop. The stories have persisted for generations, passed from one resident to the next, adding layers to the town's mysterious reputation. Along the riverbank itself, the atmosphere thickens as darkness falls. Trees bend under the weight of mist, their branches reaching like skeletal fingers toward the water. Shadows stretch across the ground, shifting and changing in ways that defy reason. Visitors report sudden chills that seem to rise from the river itself, brushing across skin and rattling nerves. Footsteps echo where no one walks, and fleeting figures appear at the edge of vision, vanishing when approached. Fleeting figures appear at the edge of vision, vanishing when approached. Every detail reinforces the sense that Blackwater is not entirely a town of the living. The whispers along the river are perhaps the most chilling phenomenon. They are soft, indistinct at first, carried on the wind and absorbed into the rustle of trees. But for those who listen closely, names emerge, familiar or unknown, as if the river itself remembers the people who once lived along its banks. The voices are not threatening, but they are insistent, persistent reminders of a past that refuses to remain buried. People who hear them often feel a mix of awe and unease, recognizing the presence of something beyond the natural world. Fog plays a critical role in the spectral landscape of Blackwater. The river and the banks are transformed into ambiguous forms. Trees, docks, and abandoned boathouses are rendered as ghostly silhouettes. The reflection of light in the mist creates shapes that vanish when approached. The fog amplifies every sound, from the distant slap of a wave to the creak of a tree branch. Residents describe an almost hypnotic quality to these nights. As if the town itself is suspended between worlds. Boathouses along the river also hold stories. Some are old, weathered structures, abandoned for decades yet still standing like sentinels. Witnesses report lights flickering inside, doors opening and closing without cause, and shadows moving across the walls. On quiet nights, it is said that the echo of laughter or conversation drifts from these structures, though no one is inside. These echoes of the past intertwine with the Rivera's activity, creating a tapestry of haunting that is both subtle and undeniable. Even the wildlife seems attuned to the uncanny energy of the river. A pattern, a rhythm in the apparitions and lights, a cycle that mirrors the ebb and flow of the water. The town itself feels alive in a way that transcends the ordinary, animated by histories both recorded and unspoken. Blackwater is not merely a town haunted by tales. It is a living, breathing repository of memory and mystery. The river carries echoes of lives lost, dreams abandoned, and secrets long held. Those who walk along its banks or linger in its fog discover a space where the past is never fully gone. Every light that dances across the water, every whispered name carried on the wind, and every phantom boat gliding through the mist reminds visitors that some histories never rest. By morning, the fog recedes, the river returns to its reflective calm, and Blackwater appears ordinary once more. Yet the memories of the night remain. Residents who have witnessed the phenomenon speak of it with reverence and caution. Travelers leave with a lingering sense of wonder and unease, knowing they have touched a place where the unseen is always near, where history and mystery intermingle along the waterline, and where the spirits of Blackwater continue their eternal watch. Blackwater, Missouri, is more than a town along a river. It is a place where the ordinary becomes extraordinary. Where every ripple in the water carries a story. And where the shadows of the past coexist quietly with the present. It is a town that invites curiosity, demands respect, and leaves an indelible impression on anyone who walks along its haunted riverbank after dark. Misty Falls, Maine, lies deep within a dense forest where the air is thick with humidity and the scent of moss and wet stone. By day, the waterfall is serene, a cascading sheet of water tumbling into a clear pool below, surrounded by towering pines and rugged cliffs. Yet as evening approaches, the atmosphere shifts. A fine mist rises from the base, obscuring the rocks and creating shapes that seem to move on their own. Locals speak of a curse that has long haunted Misty Falls. Stories tell of travelers who wandered too close to the edge, never to return. And of those who claim to hear voices calling from the mist. The water, ever flowing, seems to carry an energy of its own, whispering in the wind and echoing off the cliffs with a hollow resonance. Visitors report an unsettling feeling, as if they are being watched. Their presence noted by forces unseen. As the sun dips below the horizon, shadows lengthen across the rocky terrain. Figures emerge briefly among the trees, translucent and shifting, their outlines blurred by the mist. Some appear to linger near the water's edge, their forms dissolving into the swirling fog whenever approached. These ghostly apparitions are often mistaken for reflections or illusions, yet multiple witnesses have described the same shapes, moving deliberately as if aware of those observing them. The sound of the waterfall is both beautiful and haunting. Its constant roar drowns other noises, yet within the sound, visitors report hearing whispers, soft and unintelligible, as though carried from another time. The mist itself seems alive, curling and twisting around rocks and trees in unnatural patterns, at times forming shapes that resemble human figures or animals. The air grows colder as these forms appear, a chill that sinks into the bones and makes the hair on the back of the neck stand on end. Paths leading to the waterfall are lined with jagged stones and gnarled roots. Travelers often recount a sense of disorientation, losing their bearings even on familiar trails. Some have reported sudden drops in temperature, shivers running down their spines without warning. The forest around Misty Falls amplifies these sensations, creating a sense of isolation where the natural and supernatural merge. Objects left near the falls have been found in different positions or missing entirely, though no human presence is ever observed. Small items like stones or pieces of clothing appear disturbed, suggesting unseen hands moving through the mist. Witnesses describe glimpses of figures standing silently on cliffs or among trees, vanishing when they are approached. The persistence of these sightings has given Misty Falls a reputation as one of Mania's most enigmatic and haunted natural landmarks. The legend of Misty Falls is tied to both the beauty and the danger of the place. Travelers are drawn to the cascading water and the surrounding wilderness, seeking solitude or adventure. Yet many leave with stories of unease. The mist, combined with the roar of the falls and the dense forest, creates an environment where imagination and reality intertwine, heightening the sense of mystery and dread. Some visitors report the sensation of being followed, of footsteps echoing behind them along the rocky trails, though no one is visible. Others have described feeling cold touches on their shoulders or glimpsing figures reflected in the water that vanish when looked at directly. These experiences are fleeting, yet memorable, leaving an impression of a place where the boundary between the living and the unseen is fragile and permeable. Misty Falls is more than a natural wonder. Tales of tragedy, and whispers of spirits tied to the land. A pull to the waterfall that is difficult to resist. Observers often speak of a mix of fear and fascination, a pull to the waterfall that is difficult to resist. As night falls, the mist thickens, and the waterfall becomes a mirror for shadows. Shapes move through the fog with intent, sometimes hovering near the water, other times disappearing into the forest. The sounds of the falls combine with the rustling of leaves and the distant calls of nocturnal animals, creating a symphony that is at once natural and strangely otherworldly. Those who venture to Misty Falls at night are advised to remain cautious, for the terrain is treacherous. For the air carries an almost tangible presence. The experiences reported here are not always visual. They are felt, in chills, sudden noises, and the impression of being observed. Each visitor's story adds to the aura of the place, weaving a tapestry of encounters that blends legend with lived experience. Misty Falls, Maine, continues to captivate and unsettle. Its beauty is undeniable, yet the waterfall and surrounding forest hold secrets that remain just beyond perception. Shadows, whispers, and chilling sensations linger, leaving a lasting impression on those who come seeking the unknown. To witness the waterfall is to step into a space where the natural and supernatural coexist, a place where the mist carries more than water and rocks, but echoes of the past and the whispers of the unseen. Visitors leave with stories, with memories that refuse to fade, and with an awareness that Misty Falls is not simply a destination, but a living, breathing enigma. The waterfall continues to flow. The mist continues to rise. And the shadows continue to move, ensuring that the legend of Misty Falls endures for generations to come. Graveview, Kentucky rests quietly among rolling hills and dense forests, its landscape marked by a dark and tragic history. Long ago, a massacre occurred here, leaving behind scars that time has not fully erased. Though the site is peaceful by day, as the sun dips below the horizon, the atmosphere changes. Shadows deepen, and a sense of unease permeates the air, drawing visitors into a world where past and present seem to intertwine. The old chapel at the heart of Graveview stands as a silent witness to the town's troubled history. Its stone walls are weathered, moss growing in the crevices. Visitors often report seeing fleeting apparitions near the chapel, figures that appear briefly before vanishing into thin air. Some describe shadowy silhouettes moving silently along the aisles, as if carrying out rituals long forgotten. The roads leading through Graveview are equally haunting. They wind through forested areas and past abandoned homesteads. Their surfaces cracked and overgrown with grass. Travelers often hear the echo of footsteps behind them. Yet when they turn, the paths remain empty. The sensation is both chilling and compelling. A reminder that this place is alive with memories that refuse to be forgotten. At night, the cemetery and surrounding areas transform into a landscape of subtle movements and whispers. Cold drafts flow through the trees and over the headstones, and unexplained sounds drift across the hills. Some visitors have described faint cries in the distance, carried on the wind, while others notice lights flickering along deserted roads, appearing and disappearing without source. Some visitors have described faint cries in the distance, carried on the wind, while others notice lights flickering along deserted roads, appearing and disappearing without source. The interplay of darkness and light creates a surreal experience, leaving observers questioning what is real and what belongs to the world of spirits. The interplay of darkness and light creates a surreal experience, leaving observers questioning what is real and what belongs to the world of spirits. The history of Graveview adds weight to the experiences reported here. The massacre left many lives abruptly ended, and the grief of those lost seems to linger in the town. Apparitions are often seen near sites connected to the tragedy, as if drawn to the places where their final moments unfolded. Some figures appear transparent and fleeting, while others seem more solid, lingering in a single spot for long enough to be observed and photographed by those brave enough to venture after dark. Even during the day, the town carries an air of solemnity. The chapel's doors creak in the wind. And the rustling of leaves through old graveyards can sound like whispered voices. Visitors describe an overwhelming feeling of being watched, though no one is in sight. Each step taken along the old road seems to echo with history, blending the natural sounds of the environment with an unseen presence that is impossible to ignore. Locals often share stories of ghostly encounters, recounting moments when they have witnessed lights floating in midair or shadows moving in impossible ways. Some have seen figures walking along the roads in outdated clothing, their faces obscured by darkness, vanishing when approached. Others hear the sound of horses or carriages that no longer exist, moving along paths long abandoned by time. These experiences are subtle yet persistent, weaving a tapestry of the supernatural across the landscape. The chapel and surrounding grounds also hold quieter, eerie manifestations. Objects seem to move of their own accord, doors that were closed open slightly, and lights flicker for no apparent reason. Visitors often report an oppressive feeling in certain areas, a weight that presses down on the chest and slows the breath. Despite these unsettling moments, many are drawn to Graveview, compelled by a fascination with the stories embedded in the land and a desire to witness the lingering presence of the past. Even after leaving, the echoes of Graveview remain with those who have visited. The sound of footsteps in empty hallways. The fleeting glimpses of shadowed figures. And the faint cries carried on the wind continue to linger in memory. The town is a reminder that history does not always fade quietly. And that some places hold on to the energy of their past. Shaping the experiences of those who walk their roads and pass through their buildings. The town is a reminder that history does not always fade quietly and that some places hold on to the energy of their past. Shaping the experiences of those who walk their roads and pass through their buildings. And that some places hold on to the energy of their past, shaping the experiences of those who walk their roads and pass through their buildings. Graveview, Kentucky is more than a site of tragedy, it is a living memory, a place where the past is tangible and ever-present. The chapel, the roads, and the forests are imbued with the spirits of those who perished, creating an atmosphere that is both haunting and compelling. For visitors, each encounter is a chance to glimpse into a world that exists alongside our own, a reminder that some histories cannot be forgotten and some presences refuse to fade. As night falls over Graveview, the town settles into quiet tension, the shadows growing long and the wind whispering through the trees. Every footstep, every faint sound, and every glimpse of movement reinforces the feeling that this is a place where history and haunting coexist. A town where the past reaches out to touch the present. And where the memories of those lost remain forever etched into the land. Shady Hollow is tucked away in the quiet expanses of Illinois. A place where the roads narrow and the trees form an almost unbroken canopy over the land. The town, long abandoned in parts, carries the weight of history in every crumbling structure and overgrown pathway. Locals speak quietly of the spirits that linger here, remnants of past townspeople who once walked these streets and now seem unwilling to leave. Travelers who venture into Shady Hollow often describe a sense of being watched, as though unseen eyes follow their every step. The atmosphere of Shady Hollow is heavy with stillness, yet beneath the calm lies an undercurrent of unease. Shadows shift in the corners of vision, sometimes moving independently of the trees or buildings that should cast them. The wind carries strange sounds, soft and fleeting, like whispered conversations or the distant calls of someone in need. At dusk, the hollow seems to come alive with subtle movement. A faint rustle behind a fence, a fleeting figure disappearing behind a shuttered window, all create the impression that the town remembers its past inhabitants. Visitors report an unsettling sensation of being followed along the narrow streets. Footsteps echo in empty alleys, and shapes flit just beyond the range of clear sight. Some travelers hear disembodied voices calling for help, words that seem to be uttered from nowhere, fading before they can be fully comprehended. The effect is disorienting, blending the natural sounds of the environment with those that cannot be easily explained. Every corner of the town seems charged with a presence, a feeling that Shady Hollow is more than it appears. The buildings themselves tell stories of lives once lived. Weathered wood and cracked brick speak to the passage of time, each structure a silent witness to the events of decades past. Windows that catch the light at the wrong angle sometimes reveal forms inside, shadowy outlines that vanish when approached. Doors creak as though moved by unseen hands, and the faint smell of smoke or earth clings to the abandoned interiors. Even the smallest details, like a rusted sign swinging in the breeze, contribute to the impression that the town is inhabited by more than memory alone. The town is inhabited by more than memory alone. The surrounding forest adds to the town's eerie quality. Trees bend and twist in ways that seem unnatural, their branches forming tunnels over forgotten roads. Fog rolls in during the cooler months, wrapping the landscape in a veil of gray that obscures familiar landmarks and amplifies the sense of disorientation. Paths that appear open and straightforward suddenly lead to dead ends or thickets, reinforcing the idea that Shady Hollow is a place where time and space can feel mutable, and where the presence of spirits may bend perception. Visitors often remark on the contrast between the beauty and the eeriness of the hollow. Sunlight glinting off overgrown grass or reflecting in broken windows can be striking. Yet the effect is often accompanied by the feeling of being watched. Shadows deepen unnaturally, stretching across walls and ground, giving the impression of figures that have yet to fully emerge. Sounds, too, fluctuate between ordinary and unsettling. A gust of wind may carry the scent of pine or something more indefinable, a hint of presence lingering unseen. Evenings in Shady Hollow bring a new intensity to the experience. Darkness settles quickly, and the forest and buildings merge into one indistinct mass. In these hours, travelers often hear what seems like soft murmurs in the distance, whispers that cannot be traced to any person or source. Occasionally, fleeting shadows appear along the road or near abandoned porches, as if the town itself is offering a fleeting glimpse of the lives that once animated it. Some visitors feel compelled to move quickly, while others linger, drawn by the strange beauty and lingering mysteries of the place. The history of the hollow is etched into the land. Records and oral accounts describe events of hardship, struggle, and sometimes tragedy that shaped the lives of those who once called this place home. Many believe that the spirits of these townspeople remain tethered to the hollow, unwilling or unable to leave behind the streets and homes that were once theirs. This belief adds weight to every encounter, every shadow, and every sound. The hollow becomes a repository for memory, emotion, and the echoes of human presence. Exploring Shady Hollow requires a mixture of caution and curiosity. Each step reveals new perspectives on the landscape and its spectral inhabitants. The fog, the twisted trees, and the abandoned structures all serve as a backdrop for encounters that are as psychological as they are supernatural. Visitors often feel a heightened awareness, noticing subtle movements, strange sounds, or sensations of presence that may go unnoticed in other settings. The town seems to offer itself gradually, revealing layers of mystery to those who pay attention and remain observant. Shady Hollow, Illinois, is more than an abandoned town. It is a space where the boundary between the living and the departed feels thin. Shadows flit along empty streets, voices echo in silence. And the landscape itself carries the weight of memory. Every corner, every building, and every stretch of forested road holds the potential for an encounter. A moment that connects the present to the past. And to recognize that some places are never truly empty, but alive with the echoes of those who came before. Nightshade, Colorado, rests quietly beneath the towering peaks of the Rockies, a small town shaped by the rugged terrain and the legacy of mining that once fueled its growth. The streets are narrow, lined with weathered buildings that have stood the test of time, and the air carries the crisp scent of pine mixed with the faint metallic tang of the mountains. By day, the town seems peaceful, almost idyllic, a quiet testament to the passage of years. But as night falls, the shadows lengthen, and the town's true character emerges, revealing secrets that have lingered in the darkness for generations. The abandoned mines that surround Nightshade are central to its eerie reputation. Locals report hearing the echo of chains dragging along dark corridors, the sound rising and falling like a chorus from the depths of history. The cadence is irregular, as if the spirits themselves are pacing the tunnels, endlessly replaying some unresolved story. Shadowy figures have been sighted at the entrances of the mines, peering from the darkness with hollow eyes that seem to watch without blinking. Visitors describe the feeling of being observed, a weight that presses upon the chest, and a sudden chill that creeps along the spine. Even those who have been in Nightshade for years admit to avoiding the mines after dusk, unwilling to confront whatever lingers beneath the mountains. The air grows colder as the sun sets. And the quiet hum of the town fades into the distant sounds of the wilderness, leaving the mines as the focal point of fear and fascination. The landscape around Nightshade contributes to the uncanny atmosphere. Jagged peaks rise abruptly from the earth, their shadows stretching across the town as twilight falls. Patches of mist gather in the valleys, drifting through the streets and curling around old buildings like ethereal fingers. The mines themselves are set into these slopes, their dark mouths gaping like the eyes of sleeping beasts. The combination of natural beauty and lurking danger creates a tension that is almost tangible, a sense that the mountains themselves hold memories of toil, tragedy, and unrest. Those who venture near the mines often describe a sensory experience that defies explanation. Footsteps echo where no one walks, the sound amplified by the rock walls and deep tunnels. Cold drafts seem to seep from the mountainside itself, brushing against skin and rattling nerves. Faint whispers drift from the dark, too soft to understand, yet carrying a tone of warning or sorrow. Shadows flicker at the edge of vision, vanishing when looked at directly, leaving a lingering unease that persists long after the observer has left. The history of Nightshade adds layers to these reports. Mining accidents claimed lives, leaving behind both physical and emotional scars. Generations of miners worked under dangerous conditions, and many never returned from the depths. The tragedies are embedded in the town's collective memory, and some believe that these spirits remain tethered to the places where they met their fate. Stories of lost miners appearing in the shafts, walking silently through abandoned tunnels, or standing at the entrances as if waiting for someone, have circulated for decades. The mines have become more than a relic of economic ambition. They are a repository for the town's restless past. Visitors to Nightshade often speak of the psychological impact of the mines. The darkness seems heavier here, the air thicker, as if the very atmosphere absorbs the anxiety and fear of those who enter. Even experienced spelunkers, accustomed to underground environments, report an instinctual sense of being watched. Some have described seeing figures in the corner of their vision, only to find the space empty when they turn. Others recount hearing a chain scrape across stone, followed by silence, as if the sound itself refuses to be acknowledged by the living. The outskirts of town, where the mountains rise more steeply, are especially haunting after sunset. The mines, partially hidden by overgrowth, appear like the mouths of great beasts waiting to consume the unwary. It is here, in the interplay between shadow and light, between the remembered past and the present, that Nightshade reveals its most unsettling qualities. Yet amid the fear, there is a strange allure. The town draws the curious, the adventurous, and those who are drawn to the unknown. Nightshade is a place where the natural and supernatural converge. Where history is palpable in every shadowed corridor. And where the line between what is seen and unseen seems fragile. Visitors leave with stories, and some even with experiences that cannot be fully explained. A lingering impression that the town and its mines are alive in ways that extend beyond the physical world. Nightshade, Colorado, is not simply a town near abandoned mines. The mountains, the mines, and the very air carry the echoes of the past. Reminding all who enter that history is never truly buried. At night, when chains scrape against rock and shadows flicker at the tunnel mouths. The town stands as a silent witness to both memory and mystery. Those who dare to walk its streets after dark come. Where the past refuses to rest. Where every step could brush against the unseen. And where the restless spirits of the mines continue to watch. Waiting in wonder. Ravenna's End, Florida, stretches along a quiet coastline where the waves crash rhythmically against the sand, carrying a chill even in the warmest nights. By day, the beach appears serene, with sunlit waves and soft winds drifting across the shore. Yet as midnight approaches, a different energy takes hold. Shadows lengthen along the sand, and the ocean seems to whisper secrets that only the night can carry. Visitors to Raven's End have long reported unusual phenomena. Figures appear along the water's edge, walking slowly as if tracing the line between land and sea. These shapes are often pale and indistinct, their forms shimmering in the moonlight before vanishing into the surf. Some say the figures are the spirits of those lost to the ocean, forever bound to the waves, walking the shoreline in quiet solitude. The wind itself seems alive, carrying soft whispers that rise and fall with the tide. Words are never clear, but the tone conveys longing, sorrow, and a hint of warning. The sound of the surf merges with these whispers, creating an eerie symphony that unsettles even the most seasoned visitors. Some claim to feel cold drafts brushing against them despite the humid air, as if unseen hands are passing through. As if unseen hands are passing through. The sand near the waterline often bears footprints that appear suddenly and vanish just as mysteriously. These prints are sometimes large, sometimes small, and follow paths that defy natural logic. Many who have walked the beach alone at night report seeing their own footprints merge with others. Then disappear entirely, leaving them alone in a silent expanse where reality and illusion blur. Raven's End is more than a haunted beach. It is a place where history and legend intertwine. The coastline has claimed many lives over the centuries. From sailors caught in sudden storms to fishermen lost in treacherous tides. Locals believe that these tragedies left echoes in the environment. Manifestations of grief and unrest that linger just beyond human perception. Visitors often describe the feeling of being watched as they walk along the shore. Shadows appear in the corner of their eyes, fleeting and insubstantial, yet undeniably present. Some have seen figures pause and look directly at them before fading like mist over the water. The sensation is both chilling and captivating, a reminder that Raven's End exists on the threshold between the living and the unseen. The beach at night is deceptive. What appears calm and beautiful in the moonlight hides currents of tension and unease. The waves seem to carry more than water, washing over the sand with a rhythm that echoes lost lives. At times, the figures along the shore appear to move against the tide. Walking from the water toward the dunes, their passage leaving no trace. Whispers are not the only sounds reported. Some travelers hear the faint clinking of chains, or the distant creaking of a ship's hull. These sounds emerge suddenly, vanishing as quickly as they arrive, leaving an eerie silence in their wake. The wind amplifies these noises, giving them depth and texture, and making it difficult to discern what is real from what is imagined. Raven's End is particularly active during the hours before dawn. As darkness lingers and the moon hangs low, the beach takes on an ethereal quality. Mist often rises from the wet sand and the surf, curling around dunes and scattered driftwood. Within this fog, figures appear more clearly to some observers, moving slowly and deliberately. Their presence marked by sudden drops in temperature and a profound sense of otherworldliness. Those who venture to the dunes report seeing shapes that resemble people standing silently, staring toward the ocean. They do not speak, and they do not move unless approached. When confronted, the figures dissolve into the night air, leaving only the sound of the waves and the soft, haunting whispers behind. The repetition of these encounters over time has cemented Raven's End as a location of enduring mystery and intrigue. The legends of Raven's End extend beyond individual sightings. Stories tell of entire families walking along the shoreline, vanishing into the night. And of ships that seemed guided by invisible hands to safety or doom. Locals recount tales of lights appearing on the horizon where no vessel exists. And of reflections in the water that do not correspond to anything in sight. These experiences contribute to the beach's reputation as a place where the ordinary and the supernatural intersect. Even in daylight, remnants of the night linger. Footprints in the sand, driftwood positioned strangely. And an uncanny silence in certain stretches of the beach. Remind visitors of what happens after dark. The natural beauty of Ravenna's End contrasts sharply with the reports of ghostly activity, creating a tension that fascinates both curious travelers and those drawn to the paranormal. Ravenna's End, Florida, is a location where history, legend, and the unexplained converge. The shoreline is alive with movement that cannot be fully understood. Whispers that carry on the wind, and shadows that appear and vanish with the tide. It is a place that evokes both awe and unease. A haunting reminder of the power of nature and the enduring presence of spirits tied to the land and sea. Visitors leave Ravenna's End, carrying memories of the night, the whispers, and the figures along the shore. Some speak of a lingering feeling that they are being followed even after leaving, while others describe dreams filled with waves and distant voices. The beach continues to flow with the tide, and the spirits continue their silent walk, ensuring that Ravenna's End remains a place of mystery, wonder, and haunting beauty. The legend of Ravenna's End endures because it is not a story told once, but a living experience. The waves crash, the wind carries whispers, and the night brings forth shadows, connecting the past and present, the living and the unseen. For those who dare to visit after midnight, the beach offers both a glimpse into the unknown and an unforgettable journey into the heart of the mysterious and the spectral. Ashwood, California sits quietly amid rolling hills and withered landscapes, its streets lined with abandoned homes and charred remnants of what once was a thriving town. Decades ago, a devastating fire swept through this area, leaving death and destruction in its wake. The flames consumed buildings, lives, and memories, yet something of the past lingers here, refusing to fade. As visitors wander through Ashwood, the first thing they notice is the eerie stillness. The wind whispers through the skeletal trees and broken structures, carrying with it the scent of smoke and decay that has somehow endured over the years. In the dim light of dusk, windows glow faintly, though no one resides inside. The effect is subtle yet deeply unsettling, as if the town itself is quietly breathing, holding on to echoes of the past. Inside the abandoned buildings, the silence is often broken by the faintest sounds. Footsteps echo across scorched floors, moving with no visible source. Doors creak slowly in the wind, yet some claim they have never been touched. Shadows stretch across walls in impossible ways, shifting as though unseen inhabitants are moving through the rooms. The interplay of light and darkness creates an atmosphere that is both mesmerizing and foreboding, a place where reality seems to bend under the weight of memory and loss. Those who explore Ashwood often speak of sensations rather than sights alone. Cold drafts sweep through hallways even in the heat of summer. The air feels dense, heavy with the weight of those who perished. Some visitors experience the feeling of being watched, a presence lingering just beyond the edge of perception. It is in these moments that the town's haunted nature is most palpable. A quiet reminder that tragedy has left a permanent imprint on the land. The fire that destroyed Ashwood did more than consume buildings. It stole lives, severed connections, and left the town suspended in time. It is said that these spirits remain, drawn back to the places they once called home. Visitors report seeing fleeting shapes in the corners of their vision, figures that vanish when approached. Windows sometimes shine with an internal glow, casting patterns on scorched floors that resemble human forms. The effect is hypnotic, drawing observers into a world where the past and present overlap. Even the most rational explorers find themselves questioning what is real, feeling a sense of unease that is difficult to shake. Ashwood's streets tell stories of fear and resilience. The ruins of homes and businesses are frozen in the moment of their destruction. Burned timbers and shattered glass forming a landscape of memory and haunting. Nature has begun to reclaim the town, with weeds and brush growing through cracked pavement and over rooftops. Yet the human presence lingers. It is in these remnants that the spirits are said to move. retracing steps that were cut short by tragedy. Some nights, the town transforms into a theater of subtle paranormal activity. Shadows dance along walls with no apparent source. Faint voices drift through empty rooms, calling names long forgotten. The distant sound of a child crying or a door slamming echoes across streets where no one stands. For those willing to stay until darkness falls, the town reveals a hidden layer. Explorers often describe a surreal duality when in Ashwood. By day, it appears as a quiet, abandoned town, its devastation obvious but muted. By night, the layers of loss and tragedy become tangible. Every step, every sound, and every fleeting glimpse of light seems imbued with history, a reminder of lives interrupted and memories that remain unresolved. The town becomes a bridge between worlds, a space where the living brush against the lingering energy of those who did not survive. Despite the chilling reports, there is a strange allure to Ashwood. It is a place of reflection as much as fear. The story of the fire and its aftermath encourages visitors to consider the fragility of life and the power of memory. The town's ghosts are not merely apparitions, they are echoes of history, persistent and insistent, teaching lessons about tragedy, endurance, and the human connection to place. Walking through Ashwood is an experience that stays with visitors long after they leave. The sound of phantom footsteps, and the glow of unseen lights, and the subtle sensations of being watched, imprint themselves on the mind. That some events leave more than physical scars. That some places carry the weight of human experience, in ways that are visible only to those who are willing to see beyond the surface. Ashwood, California endures as a haunting testament to loss and remembrance. Its empty streets, abandoned buildings, and glowing windows serve as a stage for the spirits that linger. A quiet reflection of a tragedy that refuses to be forgotten. For those who visit, the town offers a glimpse into the thin veil between past and present. A place where memory is alive, and where the echoes of lives once lived continue to whisper through the ruins. As night settles over Ashwood, shadows deepen and the glow from the windows becomes more pronounced. Every creak, every flicker of light, and every echo of movement tells a story, connecting visitors to a history that is both tragic and enduring. In Ashwood, the past is never truly gone, and the spirits of those lost continue to roam, ensuring that their presence is felt by anyone who dares to step into this haunted town. Fog Hollow, New Jersey is a place where the landscape seems to breathe with a quiet, otherworldly presence. Mist drifts in from the nearby marshes, settling over the streets and fields, swallowing familiar shapes and transforming the ordinary into something strangely unfamiliar. The fog rolls in silently, thick and persistent, and with it comes a sense of anticipation, as though the town itself is holding its breath. Locals whisper that the fog brings more than dampness and chill, it carries the lingering presence of those who have long since passed. Walking through Fog Hollow at daybreak is a surreal experience. The early morning light struggles to penetrate the thick mist, creating an atmosphere both tranquil and unsettling. Shapes appear and disappear at the edges of vision, trees and buildings obscured by layers of gray. Travelers often report sudden drops in temperature, cold drafts that seem to have no source, brushing against skin and leaving an inexplicable shiver. The air is thick with moisture and mystery, carrying faint sounds that vanish as quickly as they arise. As the day wanes, the fog intensifies, wrapping the town in a blanket of gray. Streets that were once familiar become winding and uncertain. Figures are sometimes glimpsed walking along deserted sidewalks, only to vanish when approached. The experience is disorienting, blending the physical with the spectral, creating the impression that the town exists partly in a different plane, leaving those who pass through with a growing sense of unease. Visitors frequently describe encounters that defy simple explanation. Shapes appear at the edge of vision, human-like yet indistinct, their features blurred by the fog. Whispers drift on the wind, soft voices that cannot be traced to any living source. Some report seeing figures standing silently near old homes or along the edges of the marsh, watching, waiting. The fog amplifies these experiences, lending them a dreamlike quality that blurs the boundary between reality and imagination. The architecture of Fog Hollow adds to the town's spectral reputation. Weathered houses and abandoned buildings are partially obscured by fog, their outlines softened and warped. Windows reflect diffuse light, and doors creak as though moved by unseen hands. Even familiar landmarks take on a ghostly aspect, altered by the mist that seems to possess a life of its own. The entire town feels suspended, a place where time and space are warped, and where every sound and movement is charged with significance. The surrounding landscape deepens the sense of mystery. Marshes, forests, and fields extend beyond the town, often shrouded in the same relentless fog. Trees loom like sentinels, their branches twisting and intertwining, creating tunnels of shadow that challenge perception. Paths that appear straightforward can lead to dead ends or to stretches of wilderness where visibility drops to mere feet. The fog creates an environment in which even simple navigation becomes uncertain, heightening awareness and amplifying any hint of the supernatural. Nightfall brings Fog Hollow into its full, eerie dimension. Streetlights glow dimly through the thick mist, their illumination struggling against the density of the air. Figures are seen moving silently through the streets, sometimes appearing to emerge from the fog itself. Sounds are distorted, footsteps echoing from no discernible direction, whispers weaving into the wind. The effect is both mesmerizing and unnerving, drawing attention to the subtle interplay between shadow, light, and the human imagination. The history of Fog Hollow contributes to its haunting atmosphere. Stories of past residents, of tragedies and unexplained events, linger like an invisible presence. Each abandoned home and forgotten street corner is a testament to lives once lived. And many believe that the spirits of these individuals remain, intertwined with the fog that blankets the town. Visitors report a sense of being watched or followed. A subtle pressure that heightens the feeling that the town is not entirely empty, but alive with echoes of the past. Experiencing Fog Hollow requires patience and attentiveness. The mist obscures and reveals in equal measure, demanding that one notice the smallest movements and listen for the faintest sounds. A ripple across the marsh, a shadow passing near a window, the sudden chill that raises goosebumps all become part of the tapestry of the town. Every moment feels heightened, charged with the potential for an encounter that is fleeting yet memorable, leaving an indelible impression on those who traverse its fog-bound streets. Fog Hollow, New Jersey is a place where the veil between the living and the departed feels thin. The rolling mist carries the presence of those who came before, transforming streets, homes, and fields into a stage for fleeting, ghostly apparitions. Shadows and whispers intermingle with the natural environment, creating an experience that is both beautiful and unsettling. Every turn of the road, every movement in the fog, invites curiosity and caution, reminding visitors that some places are never truly empty, and that the past often lingers, carried on the breath of the mist. Dead Creek, Texas, lies quietly beneath the vast expanse of the western sky, a town frozen in time. Once a bustling settlement with streets lined by wooden homes and shops, it now stands deserted, a relic of ambition and hardship. The wind sweeps across empty streets, carrying with it a haunting melody of the past. Windows are darkened and broken. Doors hang ajar, and the skeletal frames of buildings seem to whisper of lives that once filled them. At first glance, it seems merely abandoned. Yet those who venture closer feel the presence of something unseen, a lingering imprint of history that refuses to fade. As night falls, the atmosphere changes. Some visitors have reported seeing forms moving within these windows, dark silhouettes that vanish when approached. The quiet is broken only by the occasional creak of weathered wood and the whisper of wind through empty eaves. Yet, in these sounds, many sense more than the ordinary. Footsteps seem to echo where no one walks, and faint voices, almost human, drift from the interiors of houses long abandoned. The town becomes alive in the most spectral sense, a place where memory and imagination intertwine. Dead Creek's history adds to its eerie reputation. It was once a thriving hub for ranchers and traders, a town built on perseverance and determination. Families raised children within its streets, merchants sold goods in lively markets, and the community celebrated both work and festival with vigor. But with time, droughts, economic hardship, and shifting trade routes drew people away. Slowly, homes were emptied, shops shuttered, and the town fell silent. The stories of those who remained or left are layered into the very walls, leaving traces of emotion that some claim still linger. The landscape surrounding Dead Creek reinforces the town's otherworldly aura. Rolling plains stretch endlessly, dotted with scrub and the occasional dead tree whose twisted limbs point skyward like hands pleading for remembrance. At dusk, the horizon burns with the glow of the setting sun, casting long shadows that merge with the darkness of the town. Mist sometimes rolls across the streets, softening edges and creating an ethereal veil. Visitors who explore the town often report strange phenomena. Doors creak and bang on their own, as though unseen hands pass through the hallways. Cold drafts sweep along the floors, sudden and unexplained, chilling the skin despite warm air outside. Some claim to hear whispers, indistinct yet unmistakably human, calling from upstairs rooms or the corner of a street. Shadows move against the light of flashlights or linger in peripheral vision, vanishing when faced directly. Even those who are skeptical of the supernatural find the experience unsettling, a blend of sensory impressions and intuition that is difficult to ignore. The homes of Dead Creek hold the strongest impressions of the past. Kitchens remain furnished with utensils and cabinets, now coated in dust. Bedrooms contain crumbling furniture and faded curtains that flutter as the wind passes through. In the quiet of these spaces, visitors describe the feeling of being watched, an awareness that they are not entirely alone. It is as if the townspeople who once lived here have left behind more than possessions, leaving fragments of themselves embedded in the very atmosphere of each room. Walking through the streets, one notices the way the light falls differently here. Shadows cling to corners, pooling beneath porches and behind doorways. Even in daylight, the town possesses a quiet tension, a sense that the air itself is alive with memory. Night amplifies these elements, transforming ordinary structures into stages for spectral activity. Those who stay after dusk describe the sensation of the town awakening in a ghostly manner. The faintest sounds are magnified. The rattle of a shutter, the distant call of an animal, or the wind whispering through dry grass. Some claim to see lights flicker within houses, or shadows moving in ways that defy explanation. Others report feeling a presence following them along deserted streets. A weight on the senses that disappears when they turn. Every step through Dead Creek seems to brush against the residue of the past. A reminder that this town's story is never truly finished. Dead Creek, Texas, is more than a ghost town. It is a repository of memory and emotion, a place where the echoes of life past resonate in the present. The deserted streets, crumbling buildings, and silent homes are infused with an energy that is both unsettling and captivating. Visitors leave with more than photographs or stories, they carry a sense of the town's lingering spirit, a reminder that history is never truly gone. At night, when shadows twist and whispers drift from empty windows, Dead Creek reveals itself as a place where the past remains alive, watching, waiting, and whispering. Watching, waiting, and whispering to all who dare to walk its streets. Twilight Valley, Washington, lies nestled among dense forests and misty hills, a place where fog settles early and lingers long into the morning. The streets are narrow and winding, flanked by abandoned homes and shuttered businesses that speak of a town once bustling but now quietly fading. By day, the valley seems serene, almost picturesque, with sunlight filtering through the towering evergreens. Yet as dusk approaches, an unsettling energy begins to take hold, a sense that the land itself remembers those who vanished without explanation. Visitors to Twilight Valley often speak of the shadows first. At twilight, dark shapes appear along empty streets, moving just beyond the corner of the eye. They follow silently, pacing alongside those who wander the deserted avenues. Yet when confronted, they vanish into the night air, leaving only a chill in their wake. The sensation of being watched is pervasive. A weight pressing lightly on the senses. As if the very valley is aware of each step taken. Sudden noises punctuate the silence in ways that seem impossible. Doors creak though no wind blows. Footsteps echo in alleys devoid of life. And faint murmurs drift through the fog. The sounds are unpredictable, sometimes distant and hauntingly low. Other times startlingly near. As though someone is moving just behind the observer. Many describe their hearts racing, a mixture of fear and fascination. Unable to resist the pull of the mystery surrounding them. Twilight Valley is steeped in stories of disappearance. Over the decades, residents and travelers alike have vanished, leaving no trace. Locals speak of people walking into the forest and never returning, of children who played in the streets one moment and were gone the next. These accounts have given rise to the belief that the valley itself holds the souls of those lost, spirits tethered to the land by unresolved fate. The environment seems to amplify the uncanny. Mist often curls along the roadways and drifts between trees, obscuring vision and altering perception. Sometimes more distinct, standing silently at the edge of awareness. The fog carries a cold dampness, and the air holds an almost tangible stillness that makes every small sound resonate, creating tension that seeps into the bones. Those who venture through Twilight Valley report a profound sense of isolation. The streets stretch endlessly under dim streetlights. Yet nothing moves, no animals stir, no vehicles pass. The quiet is heavy, broken only by sudden noises that startle and unsettle. Shadowy figures emerge along these empty roads. Often appearing human at first glance, only to shift into darker forms that blend with the night. The valley seems to bend perception, making ordinary shapes seem alive with intent. Some visitors have seen more than shadows. Reflections in windows sometimes reveal silhouettes that do not belong to anyone inside. And fleeting glimpses in the corners of mirrors suggest presences that vanish when directly observed. The experience is disorienting, the boundary between reality and the spectral blurred. Leaving an indelible impression on those who witness it. Twilight Valley's abandoned buildings contribute to its eerie reputation. Old houses creak with age, their wooden floors shifting in ways that echo like footsteps. Windows gape like dark eyes into empty rooms. And doors sometimes swing open or shut without cause. It is as though the structures themselves are imbued with the memories of the missing. Resonating with the energies of lives interrupted. The forest surrounding the valley is no less active. Paths wind between ancient trees where sunlight rarely penetrates. Travelers report feeling unseen presences brushing past them, hearing soft whispers, and glimpsing figures between trunks before they disappear. The forest seems to serve as a threshold between the living and the departed, holding secrets that the valley's streets hint at but never fully reveal. Twilight Valley becomes especially potent after midnight. The combination of fog, darkness, and isolation creates a sense of suspended time. Shadows grow longer. Whispers grow sharper. And sudden chills pass over the skin. Those who have dared to explore at this hour. Their instincts warning them of presences. The air is heavy with the weight of unseen observers. The legends of Twilight Valley are preserved in local lore. Stories tell of people appearing at doorsteps that no one opened. Of lights flickering in abandoned homes. And of figures wandering along streets long after everyone else has gone to sleep. Each story adds to the collective memory of the place, weaving a tapestry of mystery and unresolved tragedy that continues to draw both skeptics and believers. Even in daylight, the remnants of night's activity linger. Strange footprints, disturbed undergrowth, and inexplicable cold spots suggest that the Valia's spirits do not rest. The fog lifts, but the memory of the night remains palpable. And the streets that seem mundane in the sun hold echoes of what has come before. Visitors often leave with a sense of having been touched by something beyond comprehension, carrying the feeling with them long after they depart. Twilight Valley, Washington, is more than a haunted location. It is a place where history, disappearance, and the unexplained converge. The shadowy figures, sudden noises, and chilling presences create an atmosphere that is both mesmerizing and unnerving. Every street, every forest path, and every abandoned home holds a story, a fragment of the past that refuses to fade. For those willing to walk its empty streets and peer into its mist-shrouded corners, Twilight Valley offers a haunting experience. It is a journey into the unknown, where the echoes of the missing are never far away, and where the boundary between the living and the unseen is perpetually thin. The valley waits in silence, shadows moving just beyond sight, reminding all who enter that some mysteries are meant to linger indefinitely. Small towns may appear peaceful and inviting, but after midnight, the veil between the living and the dead thins. Ghosts, shadows, and restless spirits emerge, revealing a side of these towns few ever witness. Next time you wander into a small town at night, remember these haunted places and consider, are the streets truly empty, or are unseen eyes following your every step? Every shadow, every whisper, every creaking door reminds us that some towns never forget the past. Would you dare to explore one of these towns tonight and face what lurks after midnight?